other guest here, Bryan Borgman. What? What is wrong with you people? I'm sorry about this. This is only, the finest level professionalism we have here at Main Street Comics in Springfield, Ohio. So my apologies. Bryan Borgman.
Yes.
Now, as I understand it, you make soundtracks for role-playing or gaming aspect genre. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, well, it started back in 2003. I was a musician trying to find an avenue to go into. I had been doing club life. I had been doing session work in the studio and whatnot. And at that time, some friends of mine, Midnight Syndicate, had just released the Dungeons & Dragons soundtrack based on the role-playing game. And I said, I can do that. So I contacted them for some tips on how to break into the market. And from there, within a year, I released the Cybernet soundtrack, which is a cyberpunk soundtrack, very much in the vein of Blade Runner, The Matrix, and some of those other popular movies that were going on at the time that were definitely inspiration for me. And I've basically been doing it ever since. I've also branched out into some indie horror films, and just last year I did an indie comic soundtrack for an indie comic book called Symphony of the Universe. And so I'm kind of just trying to get a little bit of everything going on now.
And how does a typical process for a CD come up for you? I mean, like the idea and then what you have to do for it.
Right. It depends on the property. When I approached Cybernet, being my first soundtrack, I kind of approached it as a movie, but I didn't have a story since it being a role-playing game. The game masters tell the story and the players make the story happen. I sat down and I basically outlined a whole story from beginning to end with a climax and whatnot and what I want it to be, and I created characters, and I actually had some people come in later and create official game stats for those characters that are in the book or in the booklet of the CD for the players. But basically sat down then and I said, okay, this is the story, and I'm going to score it as if it was an actual movie score. Some other ones, I did a fantasy soundtrack a couple years ago. The creator of the property really was specific on what he wanted. He wanted different locations to have different sounds. He wanted different characters or different types of characters to have a different style or sound. So I tailor-made the soundtrack to his desires, as if he were the director and the producer and I was the musician.
And so far, and there is I'm surprised there is a niche for this out there.
There is, and it's actually growing. When I jumped into the market in 2003, it was Midnight Syndicate and myself, and now there's about 6 of us. So it has grown, but it's still definitely a niche, as you said, but it's getting out there. People are definitely using the music, and there's a growing desire for music, especially tailored to different games.
And do you have a website?
I do. It's BaileyRecords.com.
All right. Well, thank you very much on that, Bryan. So go back to Sean here. Sean, one last thing before we stop this travesty of an interview that my apologies again to all the people out there is, what do you hope to do with this?
Well,
besides get paid a lot of money.
A lot of money would be good. Well, I would love to get our book Scarlet Huntress out more so in the mainstream. Like our game plan for the summer is go out and do Comic-Con out in San Diego. We'd love to see that get picked up as the stuff I talked about earlier, the movies, Saturday morning cartoons, whatever. I'd love to see something like that happen. I'd love to work for Marvel and DC. I got a brief chance of doing that, working on Spider-Man, doing the licensed book that I got to work on last summer. So I'd like to do some more of that kind of stuff. Be rich and famous, I guess.
As we all hope to be, I guess someday. But you know what? Obviously, with the job that I'm doing today, I'm not even going to remotely come close to that. But on that note, I'd thank Bryan and Sean for being here. Really, when it comes to Sean, I mean, I've heard of him through Bill the last couple of years, and really, he needs no introductions going around the conventions and things. He's I don't want to say a household name, but he's a convention-wide name? I don't know. He's a what?
Mini legend.
Can you say that? Mini legend? Oh my God, the cheap shots here.
We are at a comic book shop.
I cannot believe that. Bill, really? Bill, really?
Hey, that's my 2 cents.
Oh my God. Well, once again, for Bryan Borgman, Sean Forney, I'm Fred Dukes, and thank you very much for watching.